All right, here's the video for lesson 6.03B, independent practice. We're going to do the same thing we did in the previous lesson. We're going to find the equation of the line, okay? The only thing is the last lesson, I gave you a graph and you look at the picture, okay? And the picture where you were watching were lines that look like this, okay? That means the line is going up, or lines that look like that. That means the line is going down. These lines, we call it slanted lines, okay? And all slanted lines, the equation is going to be y equal mx plus b. In the previous lesson, your job was to identify the two numbers. Looking the graph, you were supposed to find b. And remember, b is called the y-intercept. And the y-intercept, okay, is the point on the y-axis. Point on the y-axis. And then the next number you looked the last time was the m. And m is the slope. And the slope is rise over run. Okay? Now, in the last lesson, you were able to see those numbers from the picture, from the graph. But here we don't have graph, we have tables. So that's what I'm going to explain to you. How do you find B and M from the table? Okay, let's start with B. Step number one, find B first. B is always the point on the y-axis. How do you know when a point is on the y-axis? When the point look like this, 0, comma, B. If you look at the table, row number one, okay, that row start with 0, comma, I don't want to use green, let me use yellow. 0, comma, 80. So that's the same thing as 0, comma, B. Okay, and that means that my B is 80. Okay, so when I start writing my equation, y equal blank x plus blank, okay, what goes here, what I highlight in yellow, it goes the value of B. And who's the value of B? 80. Okay, now I'm gonna find the slope, the m, what I highlighted in green. Okay, and how do I find the slope? You're gonna use rise over run. But here I cannot make an L, the letter L, on the graph because we do not have a graph. So how do you find the slope? So here's what you're gonna do. Pick any two rows. It doesn't matter which one. So I'm going to pick the first row and the second row. Okay, I'm going to pick the first row and second row. And I want to find out how much the numbers are changing on the second column. The first column is X, second column is Y. Okay, I want to find out how the numbers are changing. So basically what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do 71 minus 80. See, I'm subtracting the two numbers and I get negative 9. Okay, that will be my rise, negative 9 over. Now I'm going to find the run. Okay, and that's when you're going to work with these two numbers. Okay, and you're going to do 3 minus 0. And 3 minus 0 is 3. So that means my run is 3. And what is negative 9 divided by 3? Because you have to simplify. That will be negative 3. Look, I found the slope. Okay, so my final answer is this whole equation. Y equal negative 3x plus 80. Okay, let's go to the next problem. So here's question number 2. Again, the same idea. I'm writing the equations of lines that are slanted. Remember, slanted lines, they look like this. This is slanted lines, okay? In all the slanted lines, the equation is always y equal mx plus b. Your job, find the value of b and find the value of m, okay? How do we find the value of b? The value of b is called the y-intercept, okay? Which is a point on the y-axis, but the point on the y-axis look like this, 0, comma b. So look at the table, look for a row that start with 0 on the first column and a number in the second column. You can see it right here, see? So that means that negative 2.5, that's going to be my B. So when I start writing my answer, that's going to look like this. Y equal blank x plus blank. The blank space that I'm highlighting in yellow is the value of B. So who's my value of B here? Negative 2.5. Now I'm going to find the slope. How do I find the slope? Okay, rise over run. And how do we find the rise and the run in the table? Pick any two rows. I usually pick the first two rows. Okay, so I want to find out how much are these two numbers are changing. By the way, when you're working with decimals, I strongly suggest you use a calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 14.5. I'm going to subtract 18.5. And you can see I got negative 4. Okay, so I got negative 4 here. This is my rise. So I'm going to put here negative 4. Now I'm going to do my run. This here is going to be my run. And I'm going to do the same thing in the calculator. Okay, so I'm going to subtract negative 3. I'm going to subtract negative 4. And you can see I got positive 1. So this will be 1 here. So my run is 1. And when you put this in the calculator, negative 4 over 1, that's going to be negative 4. So what I found there is my slope. The blank space that I highlighted in green is my M. So what will be the final answer? Y equal negative 4x plus negative 2.5. Okay, let's go to the next question. So here's question number 3. Same idea like I did in problem number 1 and number 2. We are finding the equation of the line that looks like this. Y equal mx plus b. Okay, so basically you want to find the value of m. You want to find the value of b. So your final answer is going to look like this. Y equal blank x plus blank. The blank space at the end is going to be my b. The blank space in front of the x is my m. First step, find b. How do we find b? We're going to find the point. Okay, remember that b is called the y-intercept. Okay, that's how we call that, the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is a point on the y-axis that look like this, 0, comma, and a number. So look in the table for a row that starts with 0. And you can see it's right there. Okay, so the 11 is my B. That's what I'm going to put in this blank space. Now I'm going to find M. Remember, M is the slope. Rise over run. Okay, so rise over run. So let's find the rise. What will be my rise? Pick any two rows from the table. I usually pick the first two rows. And I want to find out how these two numbers change. We call this the rise. So taking your calculator, okay, that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take my calculator. Let me clear everything here. And I'm going to subtract 74. I'm going to subtract 83. And you can see I got negative 9. So my rise is negative 9. And then I'm going to do my run, which is the x's, the first two rows of the x's. That's going to be my run. And I'm going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to do negative 8, subtract, I'm sorry, not negative 8. Negative 7, always subtract the second number from the first number. Negative 7, subtract negative 8. And you can see I got 1. So my run is 1. Okay, so the rise is negative 9, the run is 1. When you simplify that, that will be negative 9. That's what goes here. So my final answer is y equal negative 9x plus 11. Let's go to the next problem. All right, here's question number 4. Same idea like I did in the previous problem. We're working with slanted lines. The lines I drew, they're called slanted lines. All right, and slanted line, the equations always look like this. Y equal mx plus b. So what you're trying to do is find the equation that will make this table. So the equation is going to look like this. Y equal blank x plus blank, where the value of b will be the last blank space here, and the value of m will be this blank space here. Remember, b is the y-intercept, okay? And who's the y-intercept? It's the point on the y-axis, and that point looks like this, 0, comma b, okay? So what you're gonna do, let me use the right color, yellow. What you're gonna do is you're gonna look at this table, find a row that start with 0. You can see it's right here in the middle. Okay, so this number here, the 14, is my B. So I'm gonna put 14 here. Now I'm gonna find the M, the number highlighted in green, okay? Or the M, and that's called the slope. And the slope is rise over run. How do you find the rise? Pick the first two rows. I said, yes, you pick the first two rows. You can pick any two rows, but I picked the first two rows. So I'm gonna find out how much the y's are changing here. That will be called the rise. And again, use your calculator. You're gonna do 9 minus 4. That will give me 5. That's my rise. Then I'm gonna find out how much are these two numbers changing. This is the run. Okay, now Strong said yes, use the calculator. All right, so I'm gonna do here, let me clear all of this. I'm gonna do -8, subtract -16. And you can see I got +8. So my run is +8. So what will be my slope? The rise is 5, the run is 8. So my slope here will be 5 over 8. And this is my answer, this whole equation. Y equal 58x plus 14. All right, let's go over the last problem. Same idea I have done in the other problems. You want to find the equation that says y equal mx plus b. You're going to find first the b, that is the y-intercept. After you find the y-intercept, you're going to find the number for the m, the slope, okay? Step number 1, and by the way, your answer is going to look like this. Y equal blank x plus blank. Your job is to fill in the blank. The number that goes there that I highlighted in yellow, the blank space, is b, the value of b. And the number that goes in this blank space is the m, the slope. I suggest find the b first. B is the y-intercept. And the y-intercept is a point on the y-axis. And the point on the y-axis look like this. Okay, 0, comma b. So look in the table for a row that start with 0. Look, it's right here, see? 0, 5. So that means that the 5 is my B. That's what I'm going to put here. Okay, now I'm going to find M, the slope. And the slope is rise over run. How do you find that from the table? I'm going to pick the first two rows. So I'm going to find out how much are these two numbers changing. That's called the rise. So using the calculator, 9 take away 13, I get -4. Okay, 9 take away 13. And then I'm going to do the same thing in between these two here. And that's called a run. So -7 take away -14, I get +7. So what will be my rise? -4. What will be my run? 7. So what is my slope? -4 over 7. Okay, and this is your final answer. Okay, that's what we're doing in this lesson. I hope this helps.